Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. With me is the inventor of the infomercial and the original shark on the hit TV series Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Good to be here. Thank you, Seth. Take care, buddy. Let's do it.
All right. Today, our very special guest is Bill Schley. He is an award-winning branding expert, New York Times bestselling author, and the originator of the microscript concept. His latest book is the Microscript Rules, How to Tell Your Story and Differentiate Your Brand in 1 sentence or less. Bill, thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Bill, you spent a large portion of your career at Ted Bates, the agency that popularized the unique selling proposition. Tell us a little bit about kind of the lessons from that experience that are guiding your work today.
Well, yeah, they were. I spent the first 3 years of my life working in advertising at Ted Bates in New York, and they were the people that invented actually the unique selling, the USP, the unique selling proposition, and it's a term that people seem to still know a lot about. You know, you'll say USP, they've heard of it, they know it's something good, but they just don't know exactly what. But it sounds like it's something good in marketing. So they invented it there. And the thing was, back then, I was just a cub cop. I was no madman back then. My bosses were real ones, but I wasn't. But what happened is they hire you, and then you had to follow them around. And they didn't teach you anything or tell you anything. You just followed them around. If you start to learn something and you showed a little talent, they wouldn't fire you. That's how it worked. They never wrote any of these great, but with their USPs, at Ted Bates, they made more #1 brands than all the other agencies combined in those days. They really did it. And
Bill, did Bates, did they have a direct response division? You know, I don't know. Back in the early days, you know, there was the Chop-O-Matic and some of that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. But I don't know if that was like Wonderman. I mean, you know, there was other agencies back in the day. Bates was more mainstream, kind of, you know, corporate, right?
These guys had the biggest accounts in the world. They had Colgate, they had Wonder Bread, they had M&M Mars. These are the guys that came up. So they were dealing with big agencies, just like on Mad Men. These were national accounts. They had cigarettes in those days. They had the Navy. They had Rolaids, you know, so famous. Well, first of all, melts in your mouth, not in your hand for M&Ms. That was Ted Bates. That was specifically from Rosser Reeves, who was the chairman who invented this USP stuff in 1961. 1961. Wow. They didn't do a direct response per se. You know, there were those great Wondermans and those kinds of famous direct response guys. But as we all know, though, the direct response guys years before the golden age of the 50s, they invented so many of these principles. Let's face it. When I was trying to figure out how to make this stuff work, I read all those books. I read John Capel's. You know, they laughed when I sat down at the piano, but then when I started to play, you know, I read Claude Hopkins. I read those guys. And so, but then really Procter and Gamble, they were the ones that a lot of people consider to be the people that really created this mass market for television advertising, first radio and then TV. So that's what Bates did. They were selling national TV commercials. Okay, Halls of Mentholyptus,
So,
And so that's where these principles, but the USP just meant, you know, like we say, they believe that people remember one thing. So you find the most important specific thing that people want and pound and give them that and give that over and over and over again in a 30-second commercial. That's what they believe
right.
in.
There you go. So
Yeah.
would you say that USP, there's sort of a precursor really to microscript? I mean, is microscripting coming up with,
Yeah.
kind of your unique selling
What
position, right?
happened, what happened was they never use the word. I pretty much coined the word microscripts. And I did it. It was a long story on a radio show when I was talking to some guy about politics and what these politicians do. But what they were doing, they would come up with a position that was so sharp, like they would say, again, M&M's melts in your mouth, not in your hand, or they would say, what do you call it? Hertz is the number one in rent a car. They would come up with a very very sharp positioning about this is the one thing that they asked a question, okay, and this is the eternal question. You'd walk in there, they sit down, they say, what do you do that no one else does? Like, right, they were that blunt. What do you do that no one else does that gives me advantage that no one else can give me? Right there, whammo. And most businesses, they'd sit there, their mouth go, they couldn't articulate it, even though they've been in business a lot. What do you do that no one else does? Because that's the most important thing. When they found out what that was going to be, like Rolade spells relief, when they found out what that was
Yeah.
going to be, then what they would do was they would always find come down with, bring it down to a tagline, a signature tagline that would symbolize and trigger that USP. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Visine gets the red out. Um,
Mhm.
oh God. What do you
Bill,
call it?
for our business owners listening,
Yep, yep.
what are some of the essential ingredients of a microscript that will stick, help people remember them, and grow their business?
Okay, so the first thing is you have to have an idea. A microscript has to be about something. Now, let me tell you again what the rules of a USP are. And so, again, my contribution to history is I follow these guys around, and they never wrote them down. They never told us the rules. So I wrote down the damn rules. No one had ever done it, really. I wrote them down, and because I didn't want to get fired. And then over the years with my own business and branding company after company after company, I start to perfect them. And that's what you see in these books, okay? There are a lot of things that they had skipped, especially for small businesses. But the thing is, you have to have an idea first. What's going to differentiate you? Because the question is, what sets you apart? What do you do that no one else does? Branding, if it for it's useless unless it differentiates you from the others. If it doesn't, it's nothing but advertising, pretty wallpaper, words and pictures and spirit animals and all the shit that they tell you that is so, wonderful about branding. It's meaningless, okay? Because anybody can do it. What differentiates you? There's 5 rules to differentiate you to make a USP. You have to be best at something. Decide what you do. I guarantee you, when you know where to look and how to do it and how to spin it a little bit, there's something that you do that others don't. Okay? What's that? Number 2, it has to be an important thing if they want. Number 3, it has to be believable coming from you. If you try to Colgate toothpaste once went out to try to sell Colgate bacon, it didn't sell. Okay, it has to be believable. It's really happened, by the way. Believable coming from you. Then it has to be measurable. I need to see it working. You need to be able to show proof that it works. And lastly, ownable. If someone already owns that position, sorry, don't all you're gonna do is advertise for them. You move a little bit to the left or the right and find your own position. It's done every single day. When you find that, and as you go through all these processes, it's a process, but you're gonna write a story, a 1-page problem solution story. Remember these people talk about story brands?
Yeah.
They talk about story brands, except they don't tell you about the story has to be about something. They say just write a story, see you later. It could be Goldilocks. That the story has to be about a problem. Once the world was like this, but it was a problem, someone came along to change it. It's a little story like that. And as you write that thing, The idea is to try is now come up with little phrases that you can that encapsulate that or trigger that story. Okay. Now those could be your microscripts. See, because what microscripts are little 6 to 8 word phrases that everyone people love. They love to remember, and importantly, they love to repeat.
Hmm.
People will, it's not what people hear, it's what they repeat. You can say things all
Exactly.
day long. So
Right.
that's what, right? People,
Set it and forget it. Okay.
yeah, exactly, man. But when you say, but when you have something that people want to, oh, that stuff, that vitamin, the airborne, that's the one stewardesses use to keep them getting sick on planes. When they repeat that little line, you know what they do? They're selling your product for you.
Yep.
They're actually telling your elevator pitch,
So let
which is
me ask you, do you
yeah.
do you deal with, like, do influencers focus on this kind of thing? Do you work with influencers at all to try to
You
give them
know,
niches or
boy. I mean, I think they do. That my world is not necessarily the world of, online influencing.
okay?
I deal with businesses that have products that want to sell them products and services and want to set themselves apart, differentiate. However, these are the principles of communication. So if these are the ultimate human communication principles are this idea of the fact that the right 6 words are more important than 60,000. And
Mm.
if you don't believe that, every single you all the way back through history, great historical, figures in history, and you remember one sentence or two about them. All the way back to the Greeks, Carthage must be destroyed. Give me liberty or give me death. Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. Women want equal pay for equal work. Workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. You see, all great. John F. Kennedy, people say, ask not what your country will do for you. And so what happens is all history is remembered like that.
Hmm.
And because it gets in the book gets into it's a very interesting psychology, the way the brain works. The brain works with these little rules of thumb. And so what happens is when it finds out about something important, it packages into a little rule of thumb, and that's what it files in its brain. It packages a little microscript. So so that if you want to brand something, you want something that's different, boy, give them a microscript. The ones that work are the ones that they repeat back to you. That's
Hmm.
how you know. So for example, I knew the word microscript was a micro. It can be a name for look at a name for a product like Die Hard batteries. Um, it can be a name of a product, a name of a person. It can be one word, 2 words, or a whole sentence. But what I would talk to people about these microscripts in a conversation at a party, and within in that conversation, immediately people would be using the word back at me. Oh yeah, microscripts. Oh, I need to get my microscript. Oh yeah, I've got some microscripts. Oh, I heard them. I realized it was a microscript. And so
Okay.
it's the same thing. You have to decide what your idea is. You have to make sure that you write it into a very short story, no more than a page. If you can't say it on a page, you can't say it. And then you're actually gonna shrink it down even more because today your elevator pitch, you don't get a whole elevator ride. You get one floor. You know what I
Mm.
mean? You get one slide,
There
right?
you go. Hey,
It's all you get. But the
yeah.
thing is that you can send that message and seed so fast into someone's brain who has a need so quickly, right?
So, Bill,
Yeah.
this is a crazy question, but
Yeah.
you walk into a big client and they
Hmm.
want you to come up with their, show me the beef, okay,
Yeah,
line,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, how do you charge? What? Because if you just said the words and hit it, so, oh, thank you. We're going to use that one, okay? Like,
Yeah.
what's involved in the process
Oh
of
man.
being creative
All
and then
right.
being adequately compensated for
Yeah.
something that may be used for 30 years, if you know what I'm
Well,
saying,
and
right?
and frankly, I'll tell you that I've seen 2 words. And by the way, the big money in this stuff comes usually on exits. It doesn't, they can raise their revenue, raise their EBITDA, they can, increase sales and stuff. But when you do this thing right, you're actually creating kind of a vision for the company and where it can go, right? Um,
Yeah.
the biggest multiples I've ever seen come on exits because companies they want what this thing is because they know it can grow into something much bigger. I've seen
Yeah.
two words. I've done two words that were worth $2 billion, $2 billion a
Wow.
word. And it's, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I
Now,
don't have
the
time now, but
question is,
I'll tell you
did
the
you get
story.
any piece of that 2 billion?
At that time, I did actually,
Good.
but
That's
I was
hey,
very
you
well. I
gotta.
was.
That's a good thing.
Well, I was very close to the chairman who happened to love, it was a big public company. He happened to love this stuff. And he loved working on this stuff with me. And I worked directly for him on his personal payroll. If I'd worked for the company, I would have been fired 25 times because, the CMOs, as soon as they don't want anybody in there that they think can, that might know something that they don't know or have any
Right.
influence. So we went through about three CMOs. The thing was that they don't most of them don't do this kind of thing. They manage people. This is
Right.
strategic. Let me put it this way. It usually okay. I've seen
So,
big agencies and big companies. I was at a speech once at a big conference, and the lady that worked for the Good Hands people for Allstate, and she was a keynote speaker, and she was the head of international sales or something or marketing, and they were doing the study was on the good hands, okay, and
yeah.
how they would change the good hands. They went for 2 years of focus groups, studies, whatever they were, all kinds of stuff that all the scientific. At the end of 2 years, they changed the angle of the hands from this to this, okay?
Mm,
Or maybe it was from this to this. That was
right.
the net what they did in 2 years. And she stood there like this with so proud of what she'd done. The whole place applauded, okay? I'm going to tell you, no, we'll transform a company oftentimes because we ask these very, very simple questions. I call them the eternal questions, and you ask them over and over. And I've seen so many patterns over my life that I can see things quickly. You can usually get the answer or know you hear the answer in the first one or two meetings. We can know what it is. I can see, wait a second, you can see something that they don't see because a lot of times, people are stuck in their own walls. It takes 90 days it takes 90 days because when you think you've got it, you need to talk about it a little bit more. You need to pressure test it and float it within the organization. You need to create certain things around it, like we call the facts of the difference and the stuff that make it. Remember, positioning is two things. One is it's a proposition. Buy this product, get this benefit. It's a proposition, and then it also has to be a reason to believe. We call it an RTB. So you have a unique proposition and a unique reason to believe. If you don't do that, people don't believe you, you're erased. So you can come up with that, let's say in the first 30 days or so. And I mean, you can have a lot of possibilities, a lot of whiteboard sessions. And then, but you have to write up your first drafts and then you have to float it. And as you
Yeah.
float it and test it, you know what I mean? Things come back, you make changes.
Yeah.
And so and the bigger the corporation, the longer it takes. But usually within about around 90 days, you can be ready to something that you're so sure about, you can start putting it up on your
Nice.
website.
You've
That's what it
developed a
takes.
system. I'll let you go 1 second,
No, no,
Seth.
that's right.
You've developed a system that you sit with people, you follow sort of a protocol to develop these innovative, unique positionings.
It's not just
I
that.
take it,
It's not
right?
just that.
Yeah.
It's not just that. Wait, I'm going to show you something. It's it's not just that. Wait a minute. I can show you the entire thing. See that thing? That's the USP star. That took me 30 years to make that. That's the entire
What page
process
is
on
that?
one slide. It's on
what
page
what
104. That's
104? Okay.
that is one slide. And what happens is, and by the way, I had a real madman, guy that was the chairman of Cunningham and Walsh in New York City. He was a real madman, just like if you watch the show Sterling and
Yeah.
Shipper, remember
Sure.
those guys? He was the chairman of that. Used to be He was a art director. In those days, the art directors and writers were the heads of agencies. Now they're all suits, but those days,
Yeah.
and
Bill, we know your time's incredibly valuable. We
oh, I
greatly
know.
appreciate you spending
Well,
some
no,
of
I
it with
know.
us.
Time flies. We're having too much fun. This
For,
thing,
for our
this thing.
folks who want to learn more, Bill,
Oh,
where is
okay.
the best place for them to go to learn more about you and the book, The
Yes,
Microscript Rules?
yes. Okay. You can see that this thing, there's a lot going on here. Okay. I will tell you, my website, the simple website is called Brand Titans, one word. So BrandTitans, it's just brandtitans.com. You should be, there's a contact us. We are, as always, we're right in the middle of doing our phase 2 new upgrade of the website. But you can contact us there. Anyone who contacts me and wants to, what I will do is I will send you I'm going to send people who listen to this show an audio excerpt of the book. I'm going to send you the first few chapters of the book, which are of the microscript rules, which are
Yeah.
pretty fantastic. And they set the whole thing up. I'm going to send that to you for free. And then we'll have a little form. And we talk to, at this point, I will tell you that the work we do is with owners and CEOs and entrepreneurs at this point.
Yeah. Nice.
And the reason we
Good.
do it
Where are
is
you
because
based, Bill?
I'm based in the city of cathedrals, Tiverton, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
No,
Awesome.
no.
Yeah.
I'm Tiverton, Rhode Island. No, right here. I'm from Boston.
Okay.
All right, we will tell everybody to go to Brand Titans, get
Yeah.
your free excerpt of the microscript rules, how to tell your story and differentiate your brand in a sentence or less. Bill, thanks again for joining us.
Well, that's great, and I hope I get to spend more time with you guys. I can have a lot of fun with you guys.
Hey, this is right down our alley. Let's reconnect, Bill.
Well, yes, Kevin, let's do it. And by the way, I met some of your compadres also. I actually did some commercials for Damon John and things.
Good.
Yeah. Anyway,
Good guy.
I'd love to connect if we can after the
Okay.
Yep,
show.
I will make
Seth
that
will
happen.
put us together. We'll
Absolutely.
do that.
And where are you, Kevin? Where are you
I'm in
based?
St. Pete, Florida. Moved
Okay.
here 32 years ago in a
Great.
venture with Home Shopping Network.
Super.
And so I'm still here. They're gone. They got bought by QVC and then they filed bankruptcy.
Oh yeah.
It's a tough world. So
Well, okay, we're having fun. And Seth, thank you so much, and we'll talk. Let's continue.
Let's do it. Thank you, guys.
Thank
See
you,
you, Bill.
everybody.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having
everybody,
me.
for watching or listening. We will talk
Yep.
to you or see you next time.
You get it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.